Mikey,
What's going on?
we are back.
I
Finally.
know. Glad to see
Finally.
that you're feeling good. You're at 100%.
I am ready. I am so ready. I think I have my thoughts back, so I can go back to my minute on old lady things. So, but I do think my mind is back. Welcome,
Yeah, so
everybody.
so
Welcome.
D-Ron just texted me and said he got cold feet. So I guess
Oh,
he's
my
not gonna be.
goodness, T-Ron. What a chicken. I know
He
I
said
tried to get
he gonna have to rain check on it. It was too short notice.
I tried to get Brian to come on too, and he's like, I'm shy. I'm like, yeah, right. The bullshit is real. The bullshit is real.
Yeah, no, I
Anyway,
mean we are talking about some very, very sensitive topics, I guess you could say.
yeah, I guess you could say. I had a 2 hour long conversation with Kramer yesterday, over actually 2 hours. He's gonna join us next week. He's a busy man.
Yeah.
Trying to help this governor in Nevada get elected. But he had
Yeah,
some.
he just got the conservative search engine up and running as well, the Tusk browser.
Yes, that is our boy Kramer. He's working on some other amazing things. It looks like he's probably gonna run for governor in his state.
Hell yeah.
And if he does, I will go help him out and work with his team. Um, but yeah, so he had some interesting insight on some things that are to come if we're not careful.
Yeah.
So let's dive into it, Mikey. What are we talking about? Tell the people.
So today we are going to be covering the infamous Davos meeting that is occurring this week in Geneva, Switzerland. Um, Ironically enough, the same location and the same week that the World Health Organization is meeting for the International Pandemic Treaty. Nothing to see here, folks. But they're definitely not in no way in fucking cahoots with each other on that one. But here we have we'll be going through the list of all of the American senators, congressmen, governors that decided to go to Geneva, Switzerland for the 2022 Davos meeting of World Doom. No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
You know what? And it's
But
it's funny because I downloaded it and I should have figured out before how I could bring it up here and we could have actually looked at it together.
yeah, I was hoping we'd be able to get visuals for the
Hold
people.
on. You know what? I probably could somehow. I mean, if they want to play along, like, let me see what this is. Figure it out, you moron. Let me see. Let me see what this does. Hold on. Oh, screen share.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm afraid of screen share though.
Let's say, let me see if I can flip my
Let me
camera
see.
as well.
Oh yeah, it says start a screen share. Okay, but let me see what's on my screens before I start a screen share. So let's see. Whoa. Okay, so hold on. I gotta give it permission to share. So I do see it. But hold on one second. Let me move this over here. There we go. Let's see.
Yeah, and I will make it known right now before we get into this list. We have both sides of the aisle. We are looking at both sides of the aisle here. This is not something that is partisan. This is this is a very bipartisan kind of a thing.
Oh, it says I have to update our permissions on my browser. Welcome to Apple. The security is no joke on here. So I'll have to do my I don't want to do it while we're in here, but I'll have to update my security and then next time I'll be
No,
able
that's fine. Here, I can just flip my camera. We can just do it the old-fashioned way.
to. Okay. Which I probably could do off the screen over here. Let me see. Because it said when I tried to, oh, there we go. Take pictures off your screen, woman. So Brian just said, let me see.
There we go. Okay. So here's the list of all the individuals that went to the meeting. You have the Secretary of Commerce, USA. Her name is Gina Raimondo. John F. Kerry, Special Presidential Envoy for Climate of the United States of America. Bill Keating, Congressman for Massachusetts, Democrat. Daniel Musser, Congressman for Pennsylvania. Madeline Dean, Congressman for Pennsylvania. Ted Lieu, Congressman from California. Ann Wagner, Congressman from Missouri. Christopher Coons, Senator from Delaware, Democrat. Darrell Issa, Congressman from California, Republican. Dean Phillips, Congressman from Minnesota, Democrat. Deborah Fisher, Senator from Nebraska, Republican. Eric Holcomb, Governor of Indiana, Republican. Gregory W. Meeks, Congressman from New York, Democrat. John W. Hickenlooper, Senator from Colorado, Democrat. Larry Hogan, Governor of Maryland, Republican. Michael McCall, Congressman from Texas, Republican. Pat Toomey, Senator from Pennsylvania, Republican. Patrick J. Leahy, Senator from Vermont, Democrat. Robert Menendez, Senator from New Jersey, Democrat. Roger F. Wicker, Senator from Mississippi, Republican. Seth Moulton, Congressman from Massachusetts, Democrat. Sheldon Whitehouse, Senator from Rhode Island, Democrat. Ted Deutsch, Congressman from Florida, Democrat. Francis Suarez, Mayor of Miami, Republican. And Al Gore, Vice President of the United States from 1993 to 2001, Democrat. So, as you guys can see, there's, it's definitely not a one size fits all kind of situation, right? It's not a situation where it's like one side of the aisle is more prevalent at this meeting rather than another.
I'm still here,
This is okay. This is very much a mixture of both sides, and we see a lot of career politicians as well as some that are not necessarily long quote unquote vets. You have people like Al Gore, which were the original pushers of the global warming narrative, quote unquote, what is climate change, right? You also have John Kerry. John Kerry is very intertwined to not only a lot of past presidential administrations, but he's also tied to the Skull and Bones secret society from Yale. So it's it's a very questionable situation when you see, that we have 25 politicians that are, going there. 12 of them are Democrats, 10 of them are Republicans, and you got 7 senators and 2 state governors. That's a pretty big wallop. That's about half. I would say that's probably like a good representation of about like half of like the country, just kind of like sprinkled about if you look at it from like a general area basis. So it's like I said, it's definitely not anything light. And I mean, when we look at some of the topics of what's being discussed, I mean, you had the president of Alibaba that said that went on talking about carbon footprint tracking technologies for individuals. They're talking about being able to control every aspect of our lives here, guys. Like, this isn't a meeting that's just like some average political conversation. This is them talking about, effectively how bad it is that we are on this earth and how we can mitigate the damage, quote unquote, that we do to the earth. This is a really, really dangerous road that we're going down right here. And a lot of people, and not a lot of people are talking about it.
And why do you think that is, though? Why do you think we aren't talking about it?
Because we're constantly distracted, right? Half the country is still watching the damn Johnny Depp and fucking Amber Heard trial.
Okay,
Like,
so let's talk about the importance of who is actually attending and what we really think it means, because they're on both sides of the aisle. So
right,
when you have governors, you have mayors, you have senators, we have House representatives. What do we think it really means when, and especially if you look at the states, right, that they represent?
right.
Because I found
I
it to
think
be
it,
interesting. Like, if you really look at it, it's like no one of importance, it seems like.
right, right. It's not really big names that jump out. I mean, there are a few big names, like you have Ted Lieu, Larry Hogan kind of jumps out at me because he's the current governor of Maryland. But yeah, like I do agree with you though. There's not a lot of like big names. You're not seeing like Elizabeth Warren. You're not seeing
Right,
like AOC, right? You're not seeing Jay Inslee. You're not seeing Newsom.
right.
Um, but I think that this is more like I think that this list is the more tactical route, right? The Newsoms, the AOCs, the Rashida Tlaibs, they're too obvious. They're radicals. You can see them from a mile away. So what do you have here? You have a more tactical route, right? You have people that are sewed in on the local levels and within these institutions that are, for lack of a better term, sleepers
Okay.
that are running with an agenda
So this
behind the scenes.
so this is the undercover team.
That's the best thing that I could say, because Ted Lieu is already surrounded by scandal because he's directly tied to Ed Buck, and
Right.
Ed Buck was just arrested for those atrocious crimes of luring black men to his home, injecting them with drugs, and then murdering them.
Right.
Like, and that's not even allegedly, like he was charged, so I can straight say that. But he was charged, convicted, all that stuff. That is not a theory, right? And he was a very big donor to the Democratic Party, and Ted Lieu pictured, very, very close, with him. So, um,
Because
like
I
I
went
said, I
through the
think that,
list. I went through the list, right? And I just kind of
yeah,
looked at who these people are, what they've done, things like that. And there was really no one on this list that was like, huh, right? They're just kind of
right,
here. They're just people who
right.
are here. So like I just wondered, like, so why them and not someone else? And maybe you're right,
Well,
because it would be obvious.
the only two that I see that really, really jump out at me would be John Kerry and Al Gore.
Right. Yeah, but they are
Because
the
Al
obvious.
Gore, yeah, because Al Gore carried the water for the original global warming narrative politically. So he was probably told very early on that he would get a piece of the pie. So
Right.
he still has to be brought in and involved. That's the only thing that makes sense. And then John Kerry is directly tied to these, secret societies, these upper echelon elitist kind of situations. So of course
Okay.
he has to be, a part of that as well. So that's why I'm saying, like, those two names intertwined with a bunch of these nobodies is immediately screaming to me, this would be the tactical route, right?
Okay.
This is
Right.
how subversion happens.
Right. Right. We send in the little people, they get the intel, and then they bring it back. Drop our little bombs that we need them to drop, and then come on back home.
Right.
Okay,
Exactly.
interesting. Interesting. Okay. All
Especially
right.
with midterms coming up too.
Well, from
Make
what I
sure
understand,
certain.
that we're not going to have a midterms the rate we're going.
I mean, I think that I think it's a possibility. Do I think that they're going to do it? I'm still kind of on the fence. I don't really know. I really don't. I don't know if they're going to decide to pull that trigger, or if, they're going to allow it to happen. I don't know. But I think it's interesting because, like I said, even this could be also safeguarding.
Okay, hold
See
on one
both
second,
sides.
Mikey. Hold on one
Yeah,
second.
yeah.
Patriot Papa. If this isn't allowed, just ignore. But what happened between Snacks and Mikey?
Nothing but a simple misunderstanding, man. It shouldn't have been handled on a public forum, but it's all handled now, man. It's a dead situation. We're gonna leave it that way.
It's all said and done. We are
Right. You
family,
know what
damn
we said?
it.
You know what we used to say back in Spokane, man? We don't wake the dead. We don't wake the dead, bro. We don't wake the dead. We let the dead rest.
All right, moving on.
Um, but but no, but like I said, I think that this is a prime example of safeguarding.
Mm-hmm.
You have both sides of the aisle, right? You have midterms coming up. So what better way than to have your, like I was saying, quote unquote, sleepers on both sides that are able to just easily go in, have a chair that's not even being ran against because it might be a Republican dominant, predominant area. So they're just going to vote for whatever Republicans on the ticket. Boom, that's why Republicans are there. Same thing with the Democratic areas. Boom, you have Democrats there.
Right.
It's just kind of a way that they can make sure that, this is the same way as like Hegelian dialects. No matter how the conversation goes, you're on the benefiting side. This is it within action, within real life with people. No matter how the outcome goes, they're the beneficiary.
Okay. Okay. All right. I mean, the mayor of Miami. Who the fuck is that? I mean, just saying. Who the fuck
Apparently,
is that?
Francis Suarez. Apparently, I didn't
Yeah.
even.
Yeah. I mean, I just was like, who the fuck is that? Like, I mean, so you know what I'm saying? So like, okay. So
Right,
anyway, okay. So
right.
with this come together that they're having, where will it lead us? Do you think?
I think obviously, I mean, I don't know. It can lead us multiple different areas. I think we have a lot more discovery that we're seeing coming out of this because there are, even though there's not enough people that are in the streets and talking about these things, there's a lot more people that are becoming aware of these things, right? People like you and me, and there's I say it all the time. There's thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of us running around all doing the same shit because we want the answers, right? We want to know. So I think that this meeting will give us a lot more discovery. That's one of the things that will come from it, right? Because people are paying attention. So whenever these kind of things occur, it's always kind of a good thing for us because we can get a good grounding for strategy and kind of know whether we need to change our tactics or the way that we were moving.
Okay.
And then the other thing is that I think it puts a real fire. That's what this does, is it puts a real fire under our asses because we're being shown how frivolously they're willing to talk about these things and how they're still willing to push for these agendas no matter how much they see the pushback that we've already portrayed. So clearly we've been lacking on some forefront. So now we have to, as I was saying with the previous thing, we got to go back to the drawing board and figure out how we need to move differently so that we can truly make a strategic and tactical assault on this because it needs to be done.
Yeah, because I just feel like there's a lot going on right now, right? So there's
Right.
just a lot. I mean, literally a lot, right? So between these horrible mass
That's by
shootings,
design. Right.
yeah, between these horrible mass shootings, now the WHO situation, like there's just all these things that are literally going on massively all at the same time. How can we possibly be fully aware and prepared for everything?
Well, I think that everything that's going on, I think the biggest thing that we should make sure to recognize and tell ourselves is that everything that's going on is intrinsically tied together. It is. It's
Okay.
intrinsically tied together. The mental health issues are directly, spawning from the same agendas that these, people have been pushing for. The issues with them trying to come for people's guns and politicians trying to use it as an opportunity to, capitalize off of tragedies to be able to push their narrative. That's directly tied to their agendas because what better time to unarm a civilian ship than right now,
Right.
right? Than when they're really talking about making these final game board moves. What better time to start getting people to be like, oh, maybe I should give up my gun, maybe
Okay, well, and you know
maybe
what? And
these
that's
getting too
fine.
far.
Take your shit to the police station. Get down there and drop it off at the police station and turn your shit in. That's perfectly fine. I mean, mine fell into the lake. I mean,
Right,
I was voting and
yep,
being silly and like I
yep,
am, and it's gone. I mean,
right.
it just sucks at this point. So I mean, I like to venture down and maybe purchase another, but mine plurals currently are in the lake. So
Right, plural. Yes.
pick one. Lake Washington. Boom. Done. So I mean, I'm just saying. Because I just feel like there's a lot going on, right? And the whole
Right.
two-way situation. Okay, well then take your shit down there. If you don't want
Right.
it,
And
release it.
another thing too that's coming from the meeting that we see is they're definitely pushing for war rhetoric.
Oh, really?
When you
So what
yeah,
have we heard any discussions like I mean of anything surrounding this little gathering of people?
not externally, right? The main anything that I've heard is all internal rumblings. The only
Okay.
external thing excuse me. The only external thing that I've heard is that Jack Posobiec was arrested in Geneva, Switzerland by armed police for simply just being there
Really?
because it's the same location as the Davos meeting, and he's a conservative, Trump supporting reporter.
Oh, interesting. Okay, you sent me two links. What was the other one?
Yeah, the other one was the Stockholm 50. Let me pull that
Oh
up.
yeah, that's right.
Stockholm, yeah, Stockholm plus 50,
Plus 50.
which is really, yeah, it's a really interesting choice for a name for an initiative.
Yeah, I took a glance at that.
But what I was going to say, though, was with the war rhetoric, real quick, George Soros made a statement at the meeting where he said that the Russian and Ukrainian war could very well lead to World War III and civilization might not survive.
Oh, there's still a war going on over there?
According to them.
Oh, okay. Funny how that works. I mean, just saying. I mean, every war I've seen, it's like 24-hour televised, and you see the actual war happening. I think we saw some nonsense for 2 days or 3 days. What was that?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, and we saw it on TikTok on a loop, and people getting
right.
yeah.
Not to mention the nice little movie clips, video game clips. We had
Yes, yes.
not to mention that recently, 4-star general tried to revamp the Ukrainian-Russian war narrative and accidentally, shared video game footage from Arma 3 on Twitter. A 4-star general shared video game footage and just happened to mistake it as a real air fight,
Okay.
a real dogfight between a jet and and an
You
anti-aircraft.
know what? It happens. We've seen things. We've seen people that are friends of ours that have buffered things that they did not want the world to see.
Oh no! Don't do that, man.
So anything is possible. I'm just saying anything is possible.
Oh man, but
I
yeah.
won't mention that friend's name, but
So on to that the Stockholm plus 50. It is a new event that has just been earmarked for the 2nd and the 3rd of June of 2022,
right.
and it will be taking place in Stockholm, Sweden. I don't know why they like to do these things in Sweden. I don't know
Because
what it is about Sweden and Switzerland and
they're like neutral. Switzerland's
not
beautiful.
anymore. Not anymore. They were trying to join NATO.
Oh, the NATO.
You
That's
can't say you're
right.
Switzerland anymore. You can't be like, oh, I'm Switzerland because they're not trying to be neutral.
They're not trying to be neutral.
Um, but no, so Stockholm plus 50 is, I guess, it's another push for public health action. If there were to be another pandemic to arise in the, as they describe it, in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, I mean, it's another example of them, just taking action to manipulate a circumstance so that they can try and take more power.
Because that's what that is for, right? Because that's what I took from it when I read it, what you said.
Yep.
Okay.
Because it's based on the draft resolution of the A75/18 documents, except for this one, because that was the American documents, was the A75/18.
Uh-huh.
This one is A/75/L.88, which has to do with the delegations of Kenya and Sweden. And so those are what will be addressed at the meeting, is the different things that are outlined within those.
So that's like next week, right?
Yeah, it would be about next week. There's 77 developing countries and China that will all be involved through an organization called the UNGA, which is the G77/China is another name for it as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I just don't understand how many more of these things we have to show people and report on to be like, dude, like, they're taking these public health guises, they're taking these outbreaks, and every single time they're just grabbing a little bit more, taking a little bit more power and a little bit more of this.
And think about it like this too, Mikey. Like, we have elected officials taking advice from non-elected officials, like people who just don't matter, people who are just like hired into a job, right?
Right.
And we're allowing these non-elected officials to dictate and control Fauci, what we do, how we move, and what that looks like. So if you really start to think about it, that in itself is quite interesting, because it's like, how is it that you say, oh, make sure you pick your officials, your local officials, elect the right people, but it doesn't matter because the power is being held in people who just get paid to do a job.
Right. And now even the worst part, because I think that that's kind of always been an issue within America. But I think, one of the quote unquote saving graces that was that it was being insourced. The unelected officials were coming from internally, right?
Yes.
Now we're outsourcing. We're looking for international representation to be able to, make the decisions, which is what they're doing here with giving the ultimate power to Dr. Tedros from the World Health Organization.
Right.
Let's give all of the ultimate power over decision making to any country in the world to one man that is being investigated for genocide, possibly in Ethiopia from 2013 to 2015. Which, by the way, fun fact, there was an article that was they tried to delete off the internet of Obama meeting with Dr. Tedros in Ethiopia in 2014. So directly in the middle of him possibly committing, I say allegedly because it hasn't been proven, committing genocide in Ethiopia, Obama is meeting with him in 2014, just sitting at a table, just having a good little round table discussion. And guess who else is there? John Kerry, who's at this Davos meeting right now, right?
These circles just keep getting smaller and smaller, Mikey.
Birds of a feather
flock together.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Because it's just, I don't know. It's like, I feel like it's like this whirlwind of spinning, and we're in so much chaos right now. Right. It's like no one knows which way's up, down, sideways, to the left, to the right, but all the same names keep being mentioned.
Right.
Over.
Well, I think the biggest issue is that a lot of people have this mentality that these people in power are moving in a sense of they think what's good for the goose is good for the gander. But what we need to start recognizing is that there is no singularity. They're moving for what's good for the gander, but the gander is a different gander than what the rest of civilianship is. There's two different groups here. We need to recognize that. This is not one-off people that are working upon some disposition that they have, that's just random. That's
Right.
not what this is. This is organized. This is a group effort. And this has been ongoing for a long time unaddressed. And that's what it comes down to. People have to stop looking at this as isolated situations. These aren't isolated. There's been too much proof that shows that none of this is isolated.
And I agree with you, but I think now, I think the maybe when Kramer and I were talking, I said we're living in a time where we have more information at our fingertips than we've ever had before, right?
Right, right,
So, 20 years ago, you couldn't Google everything and just be like, oh, look at what I found. And now you're at a place where literally you can bring the past to the future because it's all been placed on the internet.
right.
So, because I asked Kramer, because what he said was, have we lived this before and we just didn't realize it,
Mm,
right? So have we done this before? And it's like history is really repeating itself. It's just that we weren't really privy to it because we didn't have so much information at our fingertips.
right,
So
right,
because it seems so easy and so effortless today for these things to be happening, right? It just seems like this is like this natural course of these things happening. But you can see all the things being put into place to put us where they want us to be.
right. And
So
yeah, and I think Kramer, he's really not wrong when he's saying that it repeats, just because, one of the reasons why I don't agree with the UN is because this isn't the first time they've tried to do a power grab. These
right.
entities, these global entities, every single time that there's been, some kind of an atrocity or a political narrative that is impending doom, these motherfuckers come out of the darkest corners of the earth and are like, don't worry, I can give you the solve all problem. Give me all of your freedoms. That's all I ask for. And everybody's like, every single time historically, people have been like, no, get out of here. Get
Yeah.
out of here. Go back to the drawing board. But then nobody wants to address them for keeping for trying. It's like we keep this evil villainship league around that is constantly trying to impend doom on all of society, and we're like, well, they're a little crazy, but we keep them around.
Yeah. So what's different now?
The only thing that I could guarantee that it's different is that people are aware of how extensive the game is, right? I think a lot of people always knew that there was a game being played, but I don't think people really realized the amount of stakes that were on the table.
Hmm.
I don't think that they realized how severe this game that has been being played really is. This isn't a game. This is a sick and twisted fantasy that these people are living out. These people are psychotic. They're
Well,
psychotic and sociopathic.
I can say that money has come truly to the forefront, right?
Right, right,
So like all these billionaires are truly trying to take over, and it's all in the forefront, like the Hollywood elite. It's like all in the forefront now, right?
right.
But when you start to look at, like, I don't know, the mayor of Miami will use, I'm sure he's connected somewhere to somebody that the name is big, if that makes
Mm-hmm,
sense, right?
mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to figure out, and I said it to Kramer yesterday, how do we get here? Why are we here? And how do we really truly turn this around when all the information is staring us in our face and people are still saying that this is a great administration? I'll give you an example. Last night on Don Lemon, that moron, on his
Pissed.
show, right after Biden did his speech, there's a guy sitting there and he's like, Biden is the best president to handle this. He was built for this. And it's like, did you just, maybe I missed something? Maybe because I do tune him out, right? Like I don't listen. I just kind of stare with my mouth open, and like maybe I catch
Right,
5 or 6 words what he says, right? So I thought, okay, did I miss something? Like what's going on
right,
here that you think that
right,
this man is the leader and he's the best leader for this situation? But
right.
through that whole thing, what was the narrative? Gun control.
Yep, yep.
It's like you don't And then they talk about it. Like the guy said, I have to prepare my kids for school shooters, right? I said, well, I'm gonna tell you the difference. What we did, Gen X, we got in fights.
Yep.
You know when shootings got really crazy? When they did this zero tolerance nonsense in schools.
Facts.
That's when it started getting crazy, right? So when you got bullied, you had to go fight. If you got your ass kicked, that was okay. You know what? People respected you. You took a punch. You stood your ground. That was that. We fought. We were from the streets. That's what we did. We met in the park at 2 o'clock. You know, you bring your friends, I bring my friends. That's we'd had little rumbles. Now, nothing. I feel like it's my opinion. Nothing is what it is. We have this horrible shooting, and you're talking about gun control.
Right.
Like seriously,
Right.
people just lost
See,
their
that's
little
the
children, and that's what we're talking about.
right, and that's the thing that I can't stand with politicians is the bodies aren't even cold, and now they're forcing our hand as being those that are trying to keep common sense within a society to have to not even like I wanted to give time before having to address that tragedy and the things
Yes.
around it and how it could be avoided and things of that nature. Our hand is being forced because now the official narrative on the left is you don't care about children. How many dead kids is enough for you to stop caring about your guns? Now our hand is forced. Now we
Yes.
have to sit here and take this shit on, right? Like head on. And like
Yes.
even pro-lifers. I'm in a pro-life Discord. Pro-lifers are even sitting there saying that on TikTok, the narrative's gonna change. Like they're gonna take a break from pro-life debates because now they're gonna focus on gun control because that's the new biggest thing that has to be addressed. It has to be addressed because people cannot start thinking this way. And people cannot start framing the younger generations to start thinking this way. This is the whole purpose as to why people do debates on social media. It's not for the one person that's in the box that you're talking to. It's to be able to reach out to the hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are listening, and more than likely, probably some teenagers or young adults that are about to be taking their moment of being able to vote and need to have this determining factor where they actually realize what's logical and what's irrational. And that's the
Oh,
whole purpose of it.
yeah. Brian just said. Then you have what's his name? Beto. Beto.
Yeah, Beto.
Yeah.
Beto who stands up and
Yeah.
cusses out in the middle of a Texas press conference. Yeah. Yeah, he cusses out Abbott and calls him crazy and delusional and a piece of shit and all this stuff. What?
Yeah.
What? I'm sorry, did the motherfucker that said that I'm gonna come and take your AR-15 fucking say that Abbott was a piece of shit? Don't listen. Beto's now even more of a piece of shit because now he's making me have to fucking defend Hot Wheels. I don't even
Exactly.
like Hot Wheels, but I'm still gonna say at the end of the day, Beto's way more of a fucking jackass than Hot Wheels has ever been. Because Beto's openly said, I'm gonna take your gun.
Yeah.
Huh?
Right.
In what country?
I hope he
Huh?
can swim. I mean, as long as he can swim well, he can get mine. I mean, he gonna need some scuba equipment, but I mean,
Yeah, it's right
good luck
down
with
there, Beto.
that. I mean, I hope it's not killer whale season and one like eats him up and he becomes like Jonah the whale. I mean, I don't know.
No, yeah, see, that shit don't work in Florida. I tell you, my shit's in the water. They be like, "Dang, I ain't going in there." I ain't going in there.
I mean, because like when you think about it, like in its entirety, like everything is a distraction, right? Where we can't even have this moment to grieve this tragic time and these
Right,
poor families, and you got
right.
this fool standing up screaming and hollering in the middle of a press
Mhm.
conference that has nothing to do with anything he's talking about, but he's making it about him, and it's like like you say, now you're gonna have to start talking about it,
Yep.
and it's like
They force our hand and then they try to call us the bad guy. It's like the fucking Scarface movie. They need somebody to call the bad guy. That's literally what it is. That is like I can't say it any better than that. We have to be the villain. And that's the shittiest part. Is we have to be the villain because
well
they need that.
And it's not just school shootings, it's just these shootings in general, right? So it's like
Mhm.
people who are angry or whatever their situation is, we never really address the real issue. It's always been this way. It's
Yep.
always something other than what the actual issue is. And that's
Yep.
why I said, even like with these forums and all these meetings and these things that are going on, they take them out of the United States, they put them into these other countries, and then they have these meetings and these talks and they do all these things that impact the United States, right?
Yep.
And but here in the United States, where the very things are happening, we talk completely around the actual issue. Like I've never quite seen anything like it. Like we literally have a starting point. This tragedy happens, and you're literally talking in a circle about gun regulation.
Right.
It's not the normal people. It's not the everyday American citizen running
Exactly.
around just firing upon people. That's not what's
Exactly.
happening. Okay, my gun that I used to have that's in the lake, the only time it's been fired upon is in the range.
Right. And it was only and the only time it fired was when you
Pulled the
were
trigger.
firing that weapon.
Yes. So I don't understand. Like it's the concept behind it, and everyone's like, oh, the background checks, this and that. No, dude, they
Right.
do your background. No, they
Right.
do your background, but that don't tell you if you're mentally sane or not.
Exactly. And
So
like and if we look at the Texas situation, he dude murdered his
his grandmother,
grandmother and took her gun.
yes,
How do you prevent that unless you want to start moving in a minority report kind of way? How are you going to make that assumption unless you want to start moving in some kind of minority report-esque kind of a society where you start making assumptions and then treating people based upon those assumptions? That's what New York is doing. They
right,
gave the executive order that the New York, I believe it was the governor, it might have been the mayor, I think it was the governor put forth, was it was to make it so that law enforcement officers, if they even deem you to be some kind of a threat or a terroristic kind of threat, that they can physically take your firearm from you.
right,
You want to spike police violence? You want to spike police shootings or shootings of police, either way, vice versa?
right,
That's how you do it.
yeah.
That's how you do it.
Well,
And
I
people don't
mean,
realize that. And then when you mention put more guns, right? When us as common sense conservatives, we say, hey, look at constitutional carry states,
mm-hmm.
right? Look at
Arizona,
constitutional carry states, look at the crime rates, and look at how often these things happen.
they
And they
don't.
always go right, and they try to deflect from it. And then when they try to ask us what's wrong with these shootings, what could have changed, every single time, without a doubt, my answer is every single person in that building should have had a gun.
Yeah,
Every single adult in that building, if it was a school, maybe not every single teacher, because that
but I
might
know
be
what you mean.
irrational, but
Yeah,
there should be a designated group that has gone through training and has
yes,
certificates or some kind of eval that is passed, that they are able to defend that property and those children that are on that property.
yes, I agree, because I know that like especially in schools now. I mean, this fool like basically drove his car into the building. So I mean, I don't know what difference it would have made at that point. I mean, you just drive your car into the building. But the ironic part, like they say, when the shooting happened and they locked the school down, there should have been more police like protection within
Yep.
the area to guarantee that the children were safe.
Yep.
My thing is, and because I lived 15 years in Arizona, constitutional carry, you don't have carjackings. You're not snatching old ladies' purses.
Right.
You're not shooting up nothing. You know why? Because the dog got one, your grandma got one, the cat
Right.
got one, the pigeon flying across the sky got one. Okay.
Right. Right.
You might get 2 shots, maybe 3 off. You might. Okay. Because when you draw down and you point, somebody's going to pop you.
Yeah, someone's gonna up it. Right.
Okay.
Right.
They're gonna be like, oh, you
Exactly.
tripping. Bop, 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 bop. Lay down, take a nap, go to sleep. You're done, right? Tell Jesus I said hello. Nobody is acting a fool because they know that there's somebody crazier with more
Right.
ammo, more gun.
Right.
They didn't pull one out their sock. They didn't pull one from under their hat. Like, I mean, literally everyone's packing. Dogs. I
Right.
mean, you got your dogs at the gun range. Dogs know how to shoot in Arizona. Like, that's just the truth. And so when you start to look at, they always attack the place where they know you aren't armed.
Right. Right.
These no gun free zones.
What better of a place? Churches, schools, or communities that have the heaviest gun regulations. That is it. Those are the only places that these things happen. That's it. That's it. But the issue is that the left sees the common denominator as the gun. But the
Right.
right, or those that are common sense, I don't even want to say just the right, free thinkers, those that are actually able to think with common sense, say, no, the common denominator is a lack of guns in that situation. There was a disproportionate amount of that weaponry that did not level the playing field. It made it unfair. If
Right.
you level the playing field, even with the Buffalo shooting, one person in that grocery store
Had a gun.
had a weapon on them. That's a 50-50 shot that they're
Yeah.
going to be able to execute they're going to be able to terminate the imminent threat. If they
Right.
can't do that, guess what? The threat isn't deterred and the tragedy still occurs. If
Right.
every single person in that fucking grocery store had a firearm, then guess what? The security guard shooting him in the fucking plate wouldn't have mattered because somebody else in the fucking rice aisle would have
Yes.
blasted him in the fucking head.
Yeah. Right. You're right. And if you really think about it in the truth, right? On people who are unloading on you.
Right. Right. Exactly.
And that's the
Exactly.
hard truth, right? You can't reload on someone who on people who are unloading on you. So
Exactly.
and if you think about that in, we'll say, video game concept, right? Call of Duty, whatever. I don't play video games, but I've seen it. If you think
Right.
about that, what do people do? They're waiting to snipe you. They're like little secrets. Like they're like, and the one thing you have to do to stay alive is what? Keep your eyes open, right? So
Yep.
as soon as you hear pop, one pop, like you said, homeboy on the rice aisle, then cleared the whole shelf, pushed the thing out, and he's looking at you. You don't even know he's there.
Right.
You're done.
Exactly.
You're out of here.
Exactly. And that's why I hate that leftists, because it happened in Texas, are like, oh, Texas with all of its freedoms towards
Down.
guns and it wasn't able to be deterred. It's like, yeah, guess what, jackass? It was still at a fucking school, which is a federally gun-free zone, and the police presence that was there, as you said, was fucking, it was weak.
Yeah.
It was weak. You don't lock down a school for a nearby shooting and then have a suspect on the run with the firearm and then have a couple of officers at the school.
Right.
So much to the point where the border patrol that's
Came.
56 miles away are the ones that actually come and end the threat, and it happened to be a parent of one of the kids at the school.
Right.
If that doesn't show you civilianship being armed, I don't know what the fuck else does.
And you know what, Mikey? That right there is the most amazing point that you just made. They came because their child was in that school.
Right.
Not
And
because they
every
were
parent,
border patrol, but because their child was in that school and they're armed and
right,
they're coming to shut it down.
right. And if every parent would have been able to have that freedom to go and protect theirs, I guarantee you wouldn't even have had to worry about the law enforcement presence. But
No.
that's the issue, is that we are stigmatized as a society now for believing in guns, because Americans are depicted through international media as a bunch of brain dead Cletus yokels that only like their guns as a form of like a caveman with a stick or a club. That's how they depict us.
Okay, but
Because
you
a
have to
lot of
understand something. So again, my generation, the beast, the Gen Xers, okay. We drive sticks.
right.
Like we gonna survive. We gonna drink. We gonna eat out of a can. We gonna
Right.
open the can of
Yeah.
beans and we're gonna eat it
Right.
cold, walking
Right.
through the desert, drinking lake water. Okay, because we drank
I
out of
might not know
water.
how to. I might not know how to drive a stick, but I've been told I'm
Mikey,
honorary Gen X.
you
So
don't know how to drive a stick?
I don't. I was never taught.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry. We're gonna have to work on that. Both my kids can drive a stick. Okay. In fact, my son's current vehicle is a manual transmission, but it's a Mustang, and
Yeah.
it's all souped up. So he's
No,
got
yeah.
six.
I would say I would be like, yeah, I could drive an automatic, but anybody could drive a fucking automatic.
Right. So no, we're
I
gonna have to
learned that
teach
very
you
young.
because you never know, Sarah Connor's child, that you're gonna have to save the world. So with that being said, it's a different look, right? So we carry our weapons as a form of defense of the bad, of the
Right.
evil.
Right.
I can't defend myself against something if you don't give me the tools in which to do that. If you want to go hand to hand combat, let's duke it out, right?
Right.
But like I said, and I will say it again, and I will always say it, as tragic as these incidences are, it's a parent who happens to be a border patrol who comes in and shuts that threat down. Why?
Right.
Because he's trained and he's armed to do so.
Yep.
So he couldn't come to the gunfight with his fist. He could have maybe ran him over with his car, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to bring something
Mm-hmm.
that's greater than.
Right.
So I will not understand how stripping America of weapons will ever make us safe.
Right.
Guns will always be on the street. Bad guys will always be able to get them. So if you think about it on its face, but I mean, again, we're living in a time where nothing makes sense.
No, yeah, we're in the twilight zone.
Right. You can't, like I said, you can't reload when you're being unloaded on. That's just the nature of the beast. If 10
Right.
people are shooting at you, you're dead. Even if
Yep.
you pop one or two, you're done. You're
Yep.
dead. They're going to get you. So I think every event is tragic, but I do believe, and you are absolutely right. If you don't know who's he got heat, I promise you, you're gonna think twice before you enter.
Right. There was
And
a
that's why these
situation.
tragedies happens in these quote unquote gun-free zones.
Right. There was a situation in, I believe it was Texas, where a man walked into a bank and he went to rob the bank, and every single person in that bank turned around and had a firearm. And he immediately dropped his gun and was arrested. He immediately surrendered. Because what the fuck do you do in that situation? You either get turned the fuck into Swiss cheese and meet your creator,
Yeah.
or you recognize, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Let me put my shit down. I fucked up. It's like when I was a kid and I almost called my mom a bitch. I got bit out my mouth. And my mom turned around, put her hand around my throat. Who the fuck do you think you're talking to? I
Mm-hmm.
immediately recognized and was like, I don't know. You tell me, who am I talking to? I apologize.
That was a
I
bad
am
idea.
sorry. Right, right. It's
Yes.
the exact same thing.
Yes.
Immediately being shown what the fuck are you doing and being put in your place can deter an immediate threat. It can deter
Yes.
from something very atrocious from being able to occur.
I agree because you've seen it too, like in these cams where like the store clerks are firing back and they're carrying, and lots of things
Right,
are prevented. Like you said, when you in the live, you were talking about this morning that the assault rifle nonsense. You're talking about
right,
the twisted T, right? When the guy just bow, it's like, so it's
right,
like
right, right,
it when you think about it in its entirety, right? You've seen people rush people with guns and like military trained people, like they don't even think. It's just like boom, something's happening and they react.
yep,
That's the type of mentality you have to have. The same way the teacher who passed away protecting, using her body to shield
right. As
the
a shield, yep,
children in her classroom. It's
yep,
that mentality that
right,
you have to have. She knows that she can't really stop the bullet, but she can slow it down. And
right,
she was willing to die to protect those babies.
right,
And that's the mentality that you have to have. It has to be a react, right? So like you have to be prepared for what could come. We see that they're coming to the schools. So now you make an announcement and say, look, the school is probably not a good place for you to come. They gonna get you because everybody's hot.
Yep.
I
Yep.
promise you, they won't be
Yep.
at the schools. They won't be at the schools. But they
Right.
know they can't. They know you can't go into the school with it, so they know they have the advantage because you don't
And
know who's
that
coming.
and that's and I'm sorry to cut you off, but this right here, what we're talking about is a prime example of how when we say that the government does not care.
Yeah.
Do you guys realize the ramifications of having an incident like this occur and having the highest place of authority within the country to push a false and damaging narrative rather than the true solution to be able to prevent the loss of more innocent lives?
Right.
That is a serious implication. And I feel like a lot of people don't really think about that when we say that. How much more blatant do they have to be? 19 kids are dead. They don't care.
They don't.
They see it as an opportunity
To
to
take
go
your guns.
after your gun,
Right. Hmm. But they
not
don't.
to
What do they
solve the
care about?
problem.
But what do
Right?
they
Not
care about? Power, control.
yeah, the Davos group. That's what
Ye-
they care about. The Davos meeting, the World
yes.
Health Organization,
Organization.
the
Mm-hmm.
World Economic Forum.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Because if you
That's what
think
they
about
care
that,
about.
that's where our focus is, right? So it's like now we're right back to business as usual. We've started another distraction and ruffled some more feathers, and now we're going to go back and see how we can continue to take away your freedoms while you guys are blind.
Right.
They're trying to get their Hispanic votes back. Well, wow. Okay, Brian, I told you to join us.
No, I do find it. I find it very funny that and it's not like funny, haha, but funny like ironic that we warned the left. We warned the left for years. Stop playing identity politics with these tragedies.
Yes.
Stop fucking playing identity politics. And now that the shoe's on the other foot, and every time that it happens, all of a sudden the conversation is hyper focused on mental health and bullying and the
Yes.
environments in which that these criminals were brought
Hmm.
up in.
Hmm.
That's all of a sudden the focus. But Lord forbid if it's somebody that looks like me and that was pictured even within a block of somebody with a Make America Great Again hat on.
Yeah.
They're a white supremacist. It doesn't matter if they were bullied. It doesn't matter if they grew up in a single parent household that was impoverished.
Yeah.
None of that shit matters. But the second that it's somebody that's black,
Well,
somebody that's
but you got
Latino,
the
somebody that's
ultra, but you got the ultra left, transgender.
right. No, that's what I'm saying. Right. You Latino and transgender, uh, bro, it checks all boxes. It
All
checks
boxes.
all fucking boxes. Anti-Trumper
Yes.
checks all boxes for everything that's on the left, but they don't want to play the identity politics now. All of a sudden they want to act like that doesn't matter. But as soon as it comes out that like the Buffalo shooting, literally we have less than a week in between these two incidences, and they played identity politics till they were blue in the fucking face with the
Right.
Buffalo incident. But the second that this happens, it's a completely different tune. And I
Yeah.
get really emotional and upset about it because it has to do with something that directly fucking affects me because it's based on the person's fucking skin color.
Skin color. Hmm. And they're still using this situation to talk about the Buffalo situation. So they talk
Right.
about this, but then they go
They
back to
segue into the article. It's some
yes,
fucking bullshit.
yes,
It's
because
absolutely
that situation makes it worse. But you have to remember one thing: like a black man drove a car in the parade that was racially driven, and we didn't even hear about. We don't even know what happened to him.
right. Right. And we don't get no recourse for that. That's
No,
not a domestic terrorist act.
no,
Cannon, little Cannon that got gunned down in his front yard, shot
yes,
in his head at fucking 6 years old.
Yes. Nothing.
And nothing. The subway shooter. Oh,
Yes.
that's not a hate crime. He was just mentally ill. What the fuck? What the fuck?
Well,
So
you
so
know,
so and
but
I
you
hate to sound like this, but it's like my people can't experience this shit. We can't fucking experience being fucking targeted and fucking attacked. We can't experience actual hate from a society. We don't get that.
gotta go
What's
up
going
it.
on, Brian? What's
Gotta
going
there
on,
you
man?
you can there you go. That's better. Hey. Oh, look at more of your people are joining you. Now you're not alone.
but it's frustrating, right? Like it's so dismissive and it's so disrespectful because they want to dare claim that we're dismissive anytime we want to actually talk about objective reality and not play identity politics. But then when we actually experience a crime as white people that have been specifically designated against white people because they're white, if we try to claim that, if we try to say that we feel that we're upset or that they were targeted because of that, we're irrational or overreacting or dramatic.
Or we don't care about other people.
Right. Or or we're selfish. We just want to focus on ourselves. It's that white fragility that makes us only want to focus upon ourselves. What the fuck?
Well, when you've created a sensitive situation, right? So you've made it okay for every person that isn't white to do whatever they want, to say whatever they want, and we just are okay with it. This is where you are at today.
Right.
So again, the power. We can't be racist. We're black. We can't be racist.
Right.
I can't be racist.
And again, chalk it up again for another thing that conservatives warned about years ago and were called fucking crazy for it.
And
This is the whole reason. This is the whole reason why I became a conservative. Because we can't even go back to the 60s when people tried to say conservatives were being irrational, talking about rock music and saying it was from the devil. Hey, fucking knock knock. Anybody realize they might have been fucking right? That there was some real occultic activity going on and they were fucking calling it out. But they were called crazy. Conservatives have always been on the ball with this shit.
Did you watch the Netflix series that I sent you?
No, I still need to watch it. I haven't had the opportunity.
Because you know it's a comedy based in a secret society.
I know. I'm very interested to see how they go with that. There's that other show that's also on Netflix called it's like Inside Job, and it's all about conspiracy theories. It's like a cartoon show, and that's kind of interesting that they did one to touch on that. I'm interested to see what they do with this one that you sent me because it's like an actual real show.
Yeah,
it's not
real,
just a cartoon.
And it's going to be like a series, but you're seeing that's another example. I think that they're trying to open the doors to expose some of this stuff so that you can see what's really going on. You're never going to get past anything that's racially driven, right? So we're in a time right now where that's the one thing that they can use to divide people is race. And it's the strongest because it's the most prevalent and it's something you can't escape, you can't deny, you can't change.
Right.
You can't change it. You can't change that you're a white man.
Right. I mean, I've been drafted, so.
Oh yes.
I don't know if that. Yeah, I don't know if that.
Oh, look at this! How
I was almost there. I was almost there.
How convenient! There's the white kid who's got a black mom, and then the white guy who's got a black girl. I mean, just how convenient are you two?
I almost made it in the whitey pet.
I know. I was just about to say, yeah, Brian's waiting for me to slip up next. The next time it's so great. And then we're looking for another one to replace him. He's in the comments. He said,
yeah, he got his hand up like, me, choose me, pick me. I'm the one. Whatever.
That was so great.
You can't get away from us, Mikey. We love you. I mean, and ultimately, the reason why we love you is because you're a genius and your little brain works really well. And you bring all these fun facts to the table, and we get to have these open discussions about how retarded America is right now.
Yeah, right. No, yeah, we can say retarded. Yo.
Yeah, we can. We can say that here, Mikey. We can say whatever the fuck
Right.
we want.
Fuck them all.
Yes, we can say it. And I mean, unfortunately, Mikey, the sad part about you is that you make us aware of all the things that are happening that once used to be in the dark are now in the light.
And, oh yeah, that was something I was gonna say. Was when it comes to the Netflix thing too, is I think it could go two ways. There could be a point of exposing, but there also could be a point of normalization. I think that there's a really big push right now for them to normalize these really, really big and taboo things, because I think that that's their final push.
Right.
If you can normalize secret society and occultic activity and things of that nature, boom, boom, society is completely inducted. Then you could perform a mass ritual on the public, masking, and not even have them aware of what they're doing while taking part.
You know, we talked about that, like people who got jabbed and then people who are wearing masks every day, like, you know, within 2 years they're going to start dropping off, and then, you know, within 5 years they're going to start dropping off. And
it's a death cult. It's a death cult, y'all.
But like, okay, but if you think about that though, and it's in the extreme of that, if that is true, do you think then people will wake up and see what the fuck is going on?
People are gonna wake up before that. And I honestly, and if we really want to be honest, I don't think it's gonna take 5 to 10 years. I think that we're gonna start seeing a lot of people that are gonna start dropping. I mean, rapidly. I mean, we see now. I mean, athletes are dropping like flies. Athletes, the reason why they're dropping is because they're exerting their bodies more. So the effects of what's going in their bloodstream is hitting them a lot quicker.
Right.
So if you look at how quick they've dropped after getting shots, then extrapolate that time, and you're giving yourself a 2 to 4 year window. The vaxes have been out and people have been jabbed since 2021. The start of, right? I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. I mean, I'm talking about my own mom and my sisters right now, because they didn't want to listen to me. But this is truly how I foresee it. This is what all of the doctors, predicted when it first came out. There was a window of about 2 to 4 years.
I've started reading the Pfizer. I've started reading like all the Pfizer stuff. I mean, you know, because it's so overwhelming. And the fact that this information is out there and people are not reading it is even more scary, I think.
Right, because that's how you know that they recognize they made a fatal decision, and they don't want to come to grips with it because it's so much easier. Ignorance is bliss.
Yes.
Ignorance is bliss. It's so much easier to live in this false, blissful reality that everything's okay and you made the right decision because you knew what was going on, rather than accepting you were duped, you were lied to, and you were very possibly poisoned in the process.
You know.
Oh, Brian.
What a time to come in with that. What a time.
I'm out.
You must depart. Anyways, we've had our hour, and we're going to send our Mikey back to his platform of TikTok
all right,
to pull the pin out of his conversation in which I snatched him away from.
Coming soon to a box near you.
Okay, yes,
right.
Coming soon to a box near you. We're gonna wrap this up. Kramer will be joining us one day next week. I don't know which day, but once we know,
perfect.
and
Sweet.
It's down in the solid, we will have the genius Kramer Says on the live in here with us. But we want to thank everybody for joining us, and we'll do it again, baby. Thank you.
Did the chat fill up today?
Yeah, I did. It was
Yeah.
fun.
Heck yeah.
Okay, so we will see you guys all again next week. Thank you so much.
Be fruitful and multiply.